speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Stuff like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron? Huh?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
When you look back at the list, there is some spellers that I've obviously shock horror. I've forgot that we watched. I was actually looking at weirdly. I was looking at the Boondock Saints the other day because I watched a movie called Born a Champion. It's like a mixed martial arts movie. Anyone's seen that?
No.
It just popped up as like a. It was basically themed around this first American black belt for jiu-jitsu for the Gracie camp who went into the underground fighting and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, it's Sean Patrick Flannery that plays him, who's a black belt in real life for jiu-jitsu. And I spent the whole film going, I know him from somewhere. I've watched him in a movie. I've definitely watched him in a movie, and it was fucking Boondock Saints that I remember them from.
One of the worst. Boondock Saints has got that sort of cult status, though. Like some people really love that film. Weird, man.
Well, we've got it. We rated it a 0.5 in total. It's 174th out of our list of 181 movies, but IMDb has it as a 7.7.
It's mad. But Rotten Tomatoes must have been low because I'm sure we did that. Was that not one of the times we did the theme was high audience scores and low critic scores, or vice versa?
Yeah. But it's a 243,000 people vote on it on IMDb, and they've scored it a 7.7. They need to get
the average person that's voted on that is between the ages of 18 and 23-year-old Americans who love going out on Paddy's Day. That's the fucking target audience.
But I was reminiscing through some of our old movies, but we talked a lot about that in the last episode of where some of the movies are. It'll be good to go through it and see if there's any ones that we would actually rewatch it at the bottom of that list, because there's certainly not many that I would want to endure again. But let's talk about a new movie that we haven't reviewed. Catch Me If You Can. Who selected Catch Me If You Can?
Me.
Sean, why did you pick Catch Me If You Can?
Because I love it.
Than just any movie with DiCaprio in it.
I've kind of obviously spoken about it before, but this was the Seen one. I hadn't seen it for years, but I remember watching it when it first came out in 2002. So I would have been quite young at the time as well. But do you know that way when like you watch a film you're younger, and you've maybe not seen it in years, but you just know that you love it.
It's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's basically why I picked it.
Well, for those that haven't seen it, it is barely 21-year-old yet. Frank is a skilled forger who is passed as a doctor, lawyer, and pilot. FBI agent Carl becomes obsessed with tracking down the con man who only revels in the pursuit. Sean, we'll come to you first to get your thoughts and feelings on it.
So as I was just saying there, it's no one that I've watched anytime recently. It must be over 10 years since I've seen it. But like it's one that I've always meant to like say, oh, I like to watch that again. Like as I said to you, obviously it was on Amazon at the time that I picked it. The time I went to watch it, it was been taken off Amazon, so I had to buy it. But I recorded it on my fucking Virgin box, and it was just sitting there, and I'd forgot that it was there. Like recorded it 3 years ago, or whatever it was. But I thought it was really enjoyable. Again, I never had any reservations or anything like that. I didn't think that I was going to hate it. But like, because I know that I've said before that when you go back and watch films that you've seen before and you think that they're really good, and then when you watch it, you're like, this is actually a pile of shite, but I think this is brilliant, a proper cat and mouse and that, like good guy and bad guy. But like Tom Hanks and DiCaprio are brilliant though. Like together they're just really good. And you can tell that, like, obviously I don't know how much of the film's accurate. I've never ever bothered to look it up or anything like that, so I'm pretty sure that one of you will maybe hunt a wee trivia or whatever. But you can, it obviously says at the end that they remain good friends to this day. And although Again, I'm terrible with characters' names. I can't remember if it was Tom Hanks' name again. I hate
Han Ratty.
Han Ratty, but Han Ratty.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Henry.
That's it. Carol, I'll say Carol. Although Scottish people can't say Carol without saying Carol.
Can't say Carol without saying Carol.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm Scottish and I can't say my R's. It's the worst word in the world for me.
Tell me about it. Aye. Just call it just Tom Hanks. That's my thing.
Aye, we'll just call him Tom. So obviously Tom Hanks, even though he's playing the FBI guy and he's changed, I think it was 2 or 3 years was it he was chasing them for, it kind of turned out. There was what was it, 2 Christmases or was it 3 Christmases? I think it was Christmas Eve. But like it never felt like when you watch other kind of films like this, you can feel that like the Polish side's getting really, really, really wound up and losing their mind over it. And I never felt that here. I was just it always felt kind of light-hearted. It was like they're having fucking phone calls on Christmas Eve all the time and they're laughing down the phone and stuff like that. It always just felt quite light, and I don't know. I have no idea what I'm trying to say, but I like that aspect of it.
I think a part of that, the reason why it's like that, Sean, is because although he's scamming all these people, he's not taking away from like the people who are skint. It's all like the big companies, and so like maybe that's why they're not giving off that vibe as much, because it's like it's not as if he's robbing me or you, like people who it's all the companies that are absolutely loaded and they're not picking up, and that's probably why it's getting traced, but there's not as much manpower against it as well. And then obviously when his boss seems to, like, when he starts talking about, is it France or Spain he wants to go to, he's like, I'm not sending you there. Whereas obviously if it was like, maybe that's because it's all these major companies that are losing all this money, they're kind of like, well, stuff them. They obviously, maybe they're not as fussed about it as what it would be if it was the hardworking men like us.
Like all of us, Bunzy. All of us.
Yeah. Especially you.
Sorry, no, that was always a good point. It's not like it's kind of like there was a scene where Tom Hanks was sitting in the dry cleaners, and it's like it was like that. It kind of reminded me of that scene of Wolf of Wall Street. Obviously, this came first, where like in Wolf of Wall Street, the detective was sitting on the train or the subway on the way home, like back just his shitty job, back to his shitty home, like that. Whereas like the criminal's living at large, got all this money, can go where he wants, do what he wants, and all that. And like it just kind of reminded me of that. But I just think I don't know what it is about this film, but because it's a very simple story. Like you've got one guy who's it is a bit kind of. And again, I don't know what's true and what's not. It's a bit ridiculous that one guy could blag being a pilot, a lawyer, and a doctor, and whatever the fuck else, over the course of a couple of years. Like, and I know that it's set in a time in the 60s where things might have been a bit kind of simpler and stuff like that. It would have been easier to con people out of money, certainly, because there's no like real kind of proper security that we've got just now. But like, how can a guy just walk in to like a hospital and just get away? Like, he's got his own office and that. Who's checking this? I know hospitals are big, but if I walked into Forth Valley with a jacket on, I would be found after at least 15 minutes.
He's watched all those hospital programs, so he knows what he's doing.
If I walked into an airport, now, fair enough. When he passed the bar and he said he studied for it a couple of weeks. He's obviously a very smart guy, right? But when he initially pretended to be the pilot, that was pretty much, let's say, a month after he left home. So he's managed to go and get himself a pilot uniform, and then all of a sudden he's in the cockpit, which I'm assuming would have been his very first flight. It just that part, although it's kind of part of the story and part of the film, kind of watching it today, I was like, it's a bit kind of far-fetched, but in the grand scheme of things, I do love this film. I know that for the past kind of few minutes I've just waffled a load of nonsense, really. But no, it's one that I've always loved, and it was good to go back and watch it today because, as I said, it's been the first time in a long time, and it definitely didn't disappoint. I hope none of you slaughter it because I do really love this film.
Well, I'll jump in there now then, Sean, and shit all over it. No, I'm kidding. I like it. I'm a fan of it. I've seen this quite a lot, this movie. I've seen it a few times. But for me, it's just it's a film of pure confidence. I just love the confidence. that kicking off and going into school. He's at a new school. Some bully's been a dickhead to him, and he walks in and he just has that airy confidence, like, no, I'm not gonna take this. I'm going to pretend I'm a teacher and own it. And you buy into him, and you make although he's a so-called bad guy in the movie, you buy into him and you root for him the whole way through it because you're like, aye, that boy was a dick to you. Go put him in his place. And then he lives his life through it. The whole scene where he gets him reading and he gets the bully up in the middle of the floor. And he belittles him and he brings the bully back down a peg or two. I think it's brilliant. I've seen it clipped on so many different parts of social media that pops up as one of those inspirational clips, and it's really good. Again, I've watched loads of things. I watched a few things today, like telling you what's true and what's not true, and a lot of it is obviously fabricated for the cinema. But the actual acts of becoming a pilot, lawyer, doctor, he did all that, and I just think it's mad that we have a human that's actually done all these things at a really young age and got away with it for so long. I just don't like the fact that he turned into a grass. Becomes a grass for the police. Shows them how to do it.
Paisley, he's obviously a very smart guy. They've taken him on. It said at the end that he's earning millions of years, man. I can't talk tonight. Earning millions of pounds or dollars.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how long it was that he actually spent in jail, but he got
4 years. Yeah.
Was it 4 years? So he got to live that high life, traveling the world, pretending he's somebody else all the time, and then in the end, he gets in a good job and has a great friendship with a guy that's been chasing him for 3 years. So all of the story is that crime pays.
Yeah.
Well.
Crime pays well. You get a good pal at it, you get a good job at the end of it, and you make millions and have a great life.
Especially check fraud, because as we touched on, it's a victimless crime as well. I mean, nobody's died, so if you find a way, like, maybe that's why all these people are. It's different now, obviously, because folk know they try and obviously like card skimming it. It comes out personal folks' accounts. That's different. There's victims in that, but the fraud in places where bankers are paid billions of bonuses. Fuck them. Take what you can off them. Go on yourself, Frank boy.
I've not actually looked at pictures to see what he looked like at 16 because he changes his age from 16 to 26. And that's a big fucking jump for a boy. So, like...
I've kind of, when I was doing my trivia research, I did say that the real Frank looked a lot... He could pass for somebody in their early 20s at 16. He looked older than what he was. And he was initially worried about DiCaprio being cast because of his usefulness, that he can look 14 and 24 in the space of 2 scenes on this.
Yeah, that was but I was like, to be a fucking pilot at the age of 26 was no bad going. But like I said, there's a lot of those parts where the check process wouldn't have been in mind there. Like, it's showing you that he's learned from his dad. His dad walking in pretending that his son's a chauffeur for him so that he can look a little bit better to the bank manager as he's trying to get money off him. And it was all just who you are and how you acted, and confidence was obviously king at that point. And working in sales, you know that you have to be confident even though you're spouting absolute shite to get a sale over the line, to get something through. Fucking forged a career out of it myself, but not quite to that extent. Not quite. Burnsy, what was your thoughts? Had you seen this movie before?
I'm not sure because basically from when they're in the aircraft going home, I remember all that stuff, and I remember the bits where he goes to visit him in jail and everything. But other parts, I'm just like, didn't remember this at all. I don't remember him with getting engaged and getting obviously sneaking off and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know, to be honest, his answer to that. I liked how, I think obviously you've touched already how like DiCaprio and Tom Hanks are classed together, like whenever they're on screen together. I think as well there's like, to me, like when you were saying about how Tom Hanks' character is, he's not getting really wound up about it. He also gets wound up at the very start when he realizes he's let him go. But then it's as if throughout it that he seems to maybe respect him a little bit because he's managing to be that fraudulent and steal all this money, basically. That's the way I picked it up. I think there's a lot of problems with the plot, I guess, in terms of like you're saying is like how they managed to get all these passes on their pilot, passes a doctor, etc. But when I watch films that I do enjoy, which this is definitely one of them, is that just fades into the background for me and I don't really care. I'd imagine maybe that obviously the films made it sound a lot more far-fetched than maybe what it was and based on the real life, what happened there. And then like I was sort of glued to it throughout, really. I thought the main actors were class. You could just, when DiCaprio gets the stewardesses to accompany him through the airport and that, and how easily everybody's distracted, I thought that was quite amusing. And then also how he's just paid this boy to just, I think it was $100 or something, he got just to sit in a car, and then he would end up getting the full police force to go out and think it was him and pull a gun on him, basically. And I think as well that by the one point at the start, which really pissed me off, was like how long the credits were. The opening credits, I was like, just get actually on with this fucking film. Like, what was it? It did my nutting. Because I didn't want to fast forward that and then miss the start of it. So I just sit there bored at my tits, no any interest to watch. Wasn't even watching the screen. I was just like, get on with it.
Do you know, it's so interesting you say that because recently we've been watching loads of movies on Disney, but like proper old ones and old like 80s movies and 90s movies, and they all had that. Credits at the start, it took fucking ages to feel in, and it started to annoy me recently because I'm like, no, just get on with the movie. But to give you a laugh about a story about that, so there's, see in the Avengers Endgame, you've got the really famous Tony Stark clicks his fingers, right? And there's a thing where if you start watching it at a certain point in the night, you'll be on the exact point he does that is when the clock will strike midnight on New Year's. So Caden had wanted to do this, Sarah had seen it as well. So it's like, we're going to do it, and we put it on at the exact time that it was supposed to, and the fucking Tony Stark clicked his fingers about a good 8 minutes earlier than what we had expected, and we totally fucking missed it and fucked it. Because the movie doesn't have any starting credits on Disney. It just goes straight into the movie.
The only
the Marvel one's the perfect example of overkill, because it used to just be Marvel stuff. Now there's fucking, it's a huge big fucking thing, or just to get the big Marvel sign up because they've got to squeeze all the characters in that they've had.
But that was good because obviously it's a second part of a 2-part movie. It doesn't have the starting credits that it would do if it was on the TV, for instance, or on Disney. Yeah, so we sat and watched 2.5 hours of a movie for this exact moment that we never actually got to experience.
I'm actually quite surprised that maybe more movies don't do it that way though, because everyone, I'd imagine, as soon as like the film finishes, just turns it off and doesn't watch the credits. So obviously it's probably their way of getting all the people's names on it, and people, like some people actually pay attention to it, unlike me who just like was on my phone until I actually had voices, because I was like, this is a load of shite.
I mean, it must be like for like the thing. Obviously, like the film series or franchise, whatever, it's probably famous for is the James Bond ones, where you get like the full song, where like.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like anyone that's watched Alan Park when he narrates the fucking start.
Amazing.
So you've got like a full song I'll play like for the start of a James Bond film, and this is what I kind of felt like watching the start. As you said, Bumps, it's like if it's especially when that just had a basic score running alongside. At least the James Bond, you've got a song that's been written and is being sung.
I mean, I thought it was class. I thought it was really enjoyable. It's like there was a lot going on, and I thought it was brilliantly acted as well. Like it seemed really believable to me that somebody just had that bravado just to go out and have that much confidence in himself, like Kel said, that he could just pull everything off. And I thought as well that when he goes, he tries to sneak away. Tries to sneak away for the weekend. He gets followed, and how Tom Hanks comes back and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to chase you," and he's like, "Oh," because it obviously was a lot to do with the thrill because he's got that much money now that it's probably got to the stage where he's not actually fussed about the money as much. It's because he's done it. He's achieved what his plan was. He's managed to show that he could go around the world. Nobody would catch him, and then when nobody's against him, he's probably just not really seen the point. And then it didn't really bother me that he became a grass as well because you sort of saw how much knowledge he'd gained and how obviously the police weren't even close to gaining the amount of knowledge that he has done, and it shows how good a job he managed to do to pull it all off. But no, I thought it was class.
Can we talk about the fact that he paid for a hooker with a cheque that bounced? That's fucking hilarious.
I forgot about that. Was hilarious.
Aye. So essentially, not only that, he's also £400 cash profit on top of it too.
So she basically paid him, really.
Aye.
So as part of some of the stuff that I watched today, it talks about how like that actually happened, right? He actually did that, gave her the money, and she went to the police about it.
Oh, in real life?
In real life, yeah, she went to the police to say that she had got a bumped check for a prostitute.
I'm assuming in real life it was just a normal prostitute because they made out that she was like a famous model in the film.
Was it not that she used to be a model, even though she looked stunning? But I don't know.
I'm not sure. She was some sort of famous magazine cover model at some point.
I think he made some sort of point like, he made some sort of point that's like, you're on my bedroom walls when I was younger or something, say something like that. Maybe I've just imagined that part of it.
No, I'm sure it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, she paid him $400 to get his leg over. Who'd like to share this?
I like this film. I'll jump in then to break the silence. I think this film's incredibly enjoyable. Like we compare things to food quite a lot, and this is one of those where it's like you've eaten something delicious, but you could eat more of it. If anything, the one thing I could have done with more of this film, it could have even been a wee bit longer for me. Seeing him up to his escapades, like I would never have got sick of seeing Leonardo DiCaprio's character just going about conning folk and getting into all different wee scenarios and that. I think it's great. There's just something. I think they just the way it flows, the good balance between when you're seeing Tom Hanks and when you're seeing DiCaprio, and it does enough of both. But there's Sean sort of mentioned the hero and the villain, but I don't really think there is a hero or villain in this. They're both sort of heroes. Like I found myself wanting Tom Hanks to catch him, but I also wanted him to get away at the same time. And then so I started thinking about that afterwards. And I think ultimately I just wanted Leonardo DiCaprio's character to be happy. Like I felt really bad for him because he was obviously really clever and he obviously could have gone on to do amazing things, but his family life just fucked up and he fucked up. So they want to be involved in his mom cheating on his dad. And he's got this like a lot of this film to me is about his idealism about a family. Like he really wanted to have a set family where his dad was the provider and he loves his dad so much. And basically everything he's doing early on is so he can give back to his dad. And then I think the most heartbroken is when he tries to give his dad the car and his dad's like, what the fuck are you doing? Basically, like, I can't fucking take that. Like, basically you need to stay as far the fuck away from me as possible. And that's what broke his heart, I think. And I think that's what leads him down the route of ultimately getting caught because he's got millions at this point. See, when you see him escaping, he's got the suitcases full of money and all that he shows the women, his fiance. And so he didn't need to be there. It wasn't like a scam to get into her family and get money. He just wanted to start living a normal life at that point. And I think that's why you feel sorry for him as a character and that you ultimately want him to succeed is because really he was just an unlucky kid that found ways to survive, and he just happened to get so good at it, and he got that little taste of what the real highlight could be, and he was doing this spiral. But he recognised very early on that he didn't want to be doing that forever. This is why he's phoning Tom Hanks at Christmas. And you get that really good moment where Tom Hanks says to him, "Oh, you've got nobody else to phone." And it's like the silence, and that was where it first starts to sort of change slightly for me. That he's not just this kid doing it for the lifestyle; he's doing it more to survive, and he just wanted his normal family back. That's all he cared about. So the weekend inconsistency at the end, he's only been away 3 years, and his mum's now got like a clearly 4 or 5 year old daughter up at the window with him. But I can forgive all that sort of stuff because I just think it's so good. This film, it's really well put together. There's loads of good wee scenes, like when he tells the lassie this is the best first date I've ever been on. It's probably his only date he's ever been on.
Yeah,
and he takes that air stewardess back and shags her. They could have been a bit more realistic because we talked about the awkwardness that they tried to make in Friends with Benefits in the sex scene. I feel like this could have benefited a wee bit more for it seeming like a 17-year-old having sex for the first time. But he's just fucking great at everything, isn't he? It's Leonardo DiCaprio does what fuck wants.
Aye. So let's face it, Leonardo DiCaprio riding as a 17-year-old is probably that fucking the best ride that fucking air stewardess has ever had. So he's just that good at everything.
I'm shocked he went for the older chick, so at some point.
Well, that's it. I think this might be where he got his. He's stayed so youthful all his days, and he's always looked younger. That must have been how it started off, and now he's just a fucking nutter.
Question then for you: should this have been an Oscar-winning performance?
From who? DiCaprio.
It's
too.
I think he's bettered himself since, but if you got it, you wouldn't grumble at for this. But he's bettered himself since this, definitely.
I don't think he really had to extend his acting repertoire much for this. Like, it was quite, I'd imagine it would be quite an easy paycheck for DiCaprio doing a film like this. He was just sort of being a young guy, and there was a few wee emotional moments, but he never really had to show how amazing he is. I quite liked by the time they catch him in France, and that's when Tom Hanks finally sort of gets the one up. You think Tom Hanks has got the one up on him, and he's lied to him, and he's got him to go outside in the handcuffs. He was telling him there's 50 cops outside or whatever. Yeah. And you think the phone call's fake and all this sort of stuff. And I was thinking, oh, he's finally managed to tick him back. But he was telling the truth the whole time. All the cops that were there, they all did turn up. So it shows you that Tom, and I'm really glad they did that, because ultimately Tom Hanks' character is so straight-laced and down the middle that he wouldn't be able to lie about something. And they wouldn't be like con the con artist, if you know what I mean. And I'm glad that they did that. I would never have thought about that the first few times I watched it. It's only because for this we've got to sort of think about things a wee bit more. And it's just a really subtle thing, but it makes sense. It keeps Tom Hanks' character consistent all the way through it. Because a lot of films lose that consistency in the characters that they create. And this does a really good job of it. And really, Leonardo DiCaprio was kind of still a con artist right to the end, because his job now is working in that department and looking for other people that are doing it. And he's only really doing it, I think, to show that he's better than all of them. It's not like he's doing it because he really ultimately wants to help the police or anything like that. He was sort of forced into the situation. But what got him there was when when Tom Hanks went to visit him, and he's like, "Oh, can I see the check?" He just wanted to be the one to figure things out, and I like that. I just think they're very likable characters, and he's just like a kid that got in too deep and carried on and carried on and carried on. It was heartbreaking for them when the lassie turned up, and he really thought that they were going to go away together, but he figured out that she was there with the cops, which was obviously what was going to happen. Her dad's a fucking lawyer. Like, she was going to be watched by the police no matter what, even if she tried to get away herself. But I find that it's the way that the movie sort of portrayed is that he's this high flyer, but really it's more about him being lonely for me. He's lonely all the way through it, all the money in the world, and then eventually when he gets the big apartment and he's having the big parties and all that, he doesn't know who any of these people are. He just wants people to be around him, I think, because being a lifelong con artist is just a lonely, lonely life. I just want to make a point as well. Christopher Walken's brilliant in this. He plays his part really well. and he's a believable con man that's fucking down in his luck, and things have just been fucked. And he's really proud of his son for being a better con man than him. So it's not his fault. He sort of led his son down this path. And obviously, you're knowing about the fact that he's fucked over the tax or something. That's how he's totally gubbed. So he's obviously been a con man for years and years and years and years. It's built up towards this point. So you'd imagine the wee boy's whole childhood was his dad lying his way through everything, and that's what he's been picking up all the way through that. And the only other bit I wanted to mention was the awkward scene where he comes in when his mom's clearly been banging this guy, and he's obviously figured it out. And see, the whole way through it, I wanted to like scream at the telly saying, like, fucking punch this cunt. Like, didn't he shake his hand? Why are you giving him his badge back, the evidence back? Like, he would just, that was my one wee bit that I just wanted him to get. He's come up in on that guy somehow, and he never got it at any point. He just sort of got caught at home at the end. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's good.
Christopher Walken was the only actor in this that was actually nominated for an Oscar for that. So he was nominated for Best Supporting, but the Best Actor that year went to Adrian Brody for The Pianist, which you can't really argue with. Great film.
I would agree with that as well. I think Christopher Walken's a standout in terms of acting, though, even though it's only a supporting role. I think Tom Hanks and DiCaprio are just being Tom Hanks and DiCaprio and enjoying. You can tell they're enjoying themselves making this film.
I think that's what you're saying. It's a testament to Walken that he, obviously, for them, they're like, as I said, it's effortless to them, these roles essentially. Whereas he's maybe not having to put more into it, but his performance still shines along with two of the greats at that point. Again, not saying that Christopher Walken isn't a great actor, but his performance is on par with they two. Definitely.
Carry on.
Again, I'm afraid to say that I also love this film. Again, I don't want to just be repeating everything that's been said so far, but again, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head, Daniel. You've seen it's like a perfect, it's like a comfort food that you just want again. I mean, I actually only watched this, when was I, Holland, like February, so that's the second time I've watched it this year. Granted, the first one, it was English subtitles with like Dutch sub in there at the top, so it wasn't the most enjoyable experience, but I still stopped in and watched it when I was over there. So again, I've said everyone's touched on the performances are great. Like the whole, I just said it's the whole concept of. I just said I think Bungie made the good point earlier. Sorry, was that you don't care like for some of the plot holes or whatever, things that don't quite add up. You don't care how fabricated the version of the story has been made for the film, because you're enjoying it all the way through. The performances are keeping you dragged in. The basis of the story is always true, because we know that anyway. And I think that's enough to know that although it has been fabricated and glamorized, obviously for Hollywood, that it still captures you in, and you're still rooting, as you said, Daniel, you're rooting for the cop and for Leo all the way through this. And like, it's, if anyone's got a bad words to say about this, then they just need to stop watching films, because it's a good film, and there's really not that much more to add on to it than the praise that's been heaped on it so far. And if anyone out there hasn't seen it, go and get your heads a wobble and get it watched.
Yeah, it's a wobble.
Yes.
Hunter, what about trivia wise?
We do have some trivia, yes. So I don't have this one noted down, but it was on I've remembered it from the research. So at the start of the film, obviously they were on like the equivalent of like the Would I Lie to You thing. So the real Frank Abagnale Jr. actually went on that show in America, and the person who was doing the guessing never actually guessed me. You can actually go on YouTube and watch that episode where he's on. So that's actually something that happened in real life.
I'm going to watch that.
He also made a cameo in this film. He was the French officer that arrests Frank on Christmas Eve '67.
Oh, that's the actual Frank Abagnale?
Yes. So also the blackboard that Hanratty is writing on towards the end of the movie contains a small note of at the bottom, which says Stephen and Tom's fourth project. This was after Spielberg and Tom Hanks had worked together on Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, and Joe versus the Volcano, which I'd never even heard of until.
Joe versus the Volcano?
It's a film from 1990.
I need to look that up.
That definitely is going on somebody's unseen list.
It's made by Spielberg, starring Tom Hanks, and none of us have heard of it.
I know.
Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan.
Aye.
Fuck's sake.
So, it's got a 5.9 on IMDb.
Maybe we're not watching it then. I thought I'd recognise this house, but no, it's true. So Mrs. Abagnale's house after she remarried was the same house that was used in Father of the Bride Part 1 and Part 2.
There you go.
So Tom Hanks also wasn't the first choice to play Carl Hanratty. It was meant to be James Gandolfini. However, because Leonardo DiCaprio had to reshoot some scenes for Gangs in New York, it led to a delay, and James Gandolfini had to go back to Sopranos, so Tom Hanks got the role of Carl Hanratty.
Wow, that would be a very different film, because
definitely.
I can't see James Gandolfini playing like such an aloof, like sort of easy-go-lucky type guy. I think it would be a lot more serious with him as that in that character. Like,
a couple more here. So when Hanratty arrives at Frank's room when he's about to escape all the money, and the money floats from underneath the door, it's an homage to the floating feather from Forrest Gump.
It's very similar, isn't it?
Yep. And finally, so in the, which would be described as about the only time he acts his age, when he's battering the gums into Amy Adams, Steven Spielberg actually said to her to pretend she was starving to death and eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Funny Tarantino levels, yeah.
No, I definitely. At least there was no feet involved, though, so.
Well, before we get to the scoring of this, I just want to read out to you the description of Joe versus the Volcano. So Daniel has committed to watching this. He'll do an individual review, as no one else will be partaking in this one once I read it out. When a hypochondriac learns that he is dying, he accepts an offer to throw himself in a volcano in a tropical island, and along the way there, learns to truly live.
I'll watch it.
You give me that description, and I just automatically presume that Wes Anderson has made that film.
You'll need to pay for it, too, because it's no free either. It must be a good film.
A 1990 PG movie with Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, and throwing himself in a volcano. Daniel, enjoy that. We'll add that to the reviewing of your solo review for next week. If anyone else wants to join Daniel in that, feel free. If you are listening to this episode and you want to partake in it as well, just message Daniel on Instagram to let him know your thoughts on Joe versus the Volcano. I'll assume there'll be no messages sent, Daniel. Why not?
I'll keep my review to 30 seconds.
Why don't you put that out there into the Instagram world and say who would like to join me and give me the review for Joe versus the Volcanoes that our four morons are refusing.
Fair. I'll do it. I'll see what we can. What's the
Just
plot I
met
can get
with the tumbleweed gif upon tumbleweed gif.
Well, tell you what, you mentioned Wes Anderson. J-Mick owes us still, so get him to watch us along with him. Yeah, we'll get his review on it.
Just get him to watch it for you, Daniel, and then you can pass his review off as your own.
30-second review. I'll batter it in 30 seconds.
Well, let's get scoring. Catch me if you can, and we'll go to the man that selected this, which I'm sure you're quite happy, Sean, that we've all given it quite positive reviews.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a theme. Whenever I pick a film, it's kind of generally favourable in here. So
just aye, keeps that record going a wee bit.
Well, listen, it's when you pick movies that don't theme around incest, that they normally score pretty high.
I never picked Star Wars. That was you, you geek.
I'll let you have that one. Right, Sean, score it, please.
A 4.25.
4.25. Mr. Burns?
4.5.
1 up on him. Hunter?
Fat 4 for me.
I'll be joining that 4.
Make it a handsick of 4s.
Oof. This is a very high rating, Burnsy. Have you managed to work out what that is?
Yeah, that's a 4.15.
4.15, guys. Same question as I asked you last week. Which movie do you think that puts that in line with?
Oh, it's high now.
Was that even on par with Airplane for the other week?
Well, we're going to put this as joint 23rd with 4 other movies.
So highly, we liked Fight Club will be around about there. Jaws, which we mentioned last week, might be about there.
Jaws is bang on, one of them. Any other guesses, guys?
Oh, the
No Country for Old Men.
No.
Too high for that, I guess.
No Country for Old Men's top 20.
What's the one that we the Stephen King one we watched? Misery. Is that about there?
It's not there. I will put you out of this misery though and tell you the answer. We've got Die Hard, Home Alone, Jaws, and a movie we're all excited to see the remake of, White Men Can't Jump.
It's good company for it. That's exactly where I would want it to be, actually. I think that's perfect placing.
And you're just one off with Misery, Hunter. It was just slightly above Misery. It's slightly below the rest.
Hit of Misery now after missing out on that.
Daniel, how excited are you for the remake of White Men Can't Jump?
Man, like I'm quite relaxed in general. You wouldn't know it by my rants on here, but things didn't bother me. And folk always get really heated about things that are happening in the media and that, like, and they get annoyed about shit. And I don't bother. But oh fuck me, it bothered me. It did bother me. Like it looks so shit. Like so shit. Like the whole thing about that film is like it's a cultural place in time, and it's all about like the pattern and all that. I'm assuming it's going to be a fucking PG or a 12 or something, a 12A maybe at a push. I'll look it up after this, but it looks fucking terrible. Just make a new basketball film. Call it fucking Hoops. I don't know, right? But why? Like, I don't fucking get it. I just don't fucking understand. Make a new basketball film. I'm never going to watch it. Please, nobody pick it.
Is it already out?
Comes out next week or the week after, I'm sure.
Well, let's get this on the next list of movies, guys. Well, listen, good movie. Thank you very much for picking it, Sean.
No problem.
Who wants to tell the people that are listening what movies we've got coming up over the next 2 weeks?
Have you forgotten about them?
Yes.
Okay. We've got a wee
We have a
guest.
special guest as well.
We have got a special guest. It's definitely a special guest. Really looking forward to hearing how our good friend Dubs reviews movies. I'm more looking forward to how he reacts to how we are going to review movies that he's selected. I have remembered one of the movies, and he has selected Memento, which I think will be a very, very good review for those that haven't seen it at all. You're in for an absolute treat.
And then the other one that you've forgotten is Manchester by the Sea.
Well, I've not seen that one, so I can be forgiven for forgetting that.
You probably have watched. You've just forgotten.
You probably went to watch it and then watched Moneyball for the 12th time that week. So.
Do you know what, I got chinned off Caden today, and he asked me why am I rewatching Suits again. He swears that I've been rewatching that for years, and I says yes, maybe could be the third or fourth time that I've rewatched this, but I keep forgetting what happens.
You've got my sympathy. I've rewatched Always Sunny about 15 times. Like, I'll stick it on constantly. And then now there's
that's different.
Say again, Sean?
I would say rewatching that is different to rewatching something like Suits, because I'd imagine I could dip in and out of It's Always Sunny.
Sure.
Even like I'm not particularly keen on it. I could just kind of dip into like an episode in the 12 series, dip into one in the second series, and I would miss nothing really apart from like odd characters. But like on a program like Suits, I've never even seen Suits, but I'd imagine it's a proper serial drama. You need a pure like storyline build and all that. So it's pointless me jumping in. I was just to say I think that's a bit different. You dipping in and watching that again.
And also for the fact that Daniel, you're going like me. You're rewatching Sunny at times because you're going back to watch an episode you know is going to make you laugh. You can remember what happens in it. Kyle's going back to watch Suits because he's still got a fucking clue what's happened in it. So
the sad thing is, I'm watching it and I'm sitting there like, oh shit, holy shit, did that happen? Fucking several times, Like, it still catches me off guard. But I don't think we've got enough time to go into the fucking mental problems that Kyle deals with. So let's bring an end to this episode. Thank you very much for listening. If you have enjoyed us ranting on about a movie where we've actually all been in agreement for, not for once, but very little have we all been in agreement that we've enjoyed a movie. If you could give us your rating on how the podcast is, obviously it's a 5-star rating. That's the only number you want to be selecting, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and us Morons bid you farewell.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Bitches.
Hunter defo got distracted. You're meant to come in with something nice and whitey at the end, Hunter.
No, I was thinking I think I peaked with that other one. That's it.
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun, you fucking moron.
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron? Huh?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.